Call in a minute.
Okay.
You're rolling.
Will I hear it ring?
Yes, you will.
Okay.
And get the white button.
Hit the white button. Got it. Okay. I need two things. Printer ink and a smartphone. I don't know who those people are waving, but people are walking by instead. Too late to change anything? Hello.
Hey, it's me.
Hi.
I dialed the wrong number. Can you believe it?
I've done that.
Okay.
How
did
are
the wrong
you?
number. Sorry, I'm late a little bit.
No, that's okay. We're fine. We're trying to cool off over here. How are you?
Good. How are you?
Good. Hanging in there. Are you ready?
Sure.
Okay, we'll go right to it. So just give me a sec here. Welcome to Three Words.
What's the name of this so I can tweet it?
Oh, okay. This is River West Radio.
How do you spell it?
RIVERWEST.
Like river running?
Yeah, but River West.
River West Radio. Is that one word?
Yep, one word. .com.
Uh-huh.
And we're
Is it
broadcasting.
.com or anything?
Yeah, riverwestradio.com, and we're broadcasting on Ustream, or we're Ustreaming right now.
Okay. I'll send that.
Terrific.
Okie doke, here it goes. I'm going to tweet it.
Okay. This will be
right,
great.
so-
Maybe we'll get some interaction here.
Yeah, that'd be cool.
That would be great. All right, so let me just start here. I want to welcome you to Three Words. That's my program. This is Eliza Brooks, broadcasting from River West Radio in Milwaukee, Wisconsin.
Hi, Milwaukee.
We wave back. We're one of those flyover states. We waved a lot to Obama when he flew over during the Walker recall. We waved a lot to him, tried to get him to come down, but he said no. So what we have today is we have Roseanne Barr, and she is running for President of the United States of America. You best know this dynamic woman for her syndicated television show, Roseanne, her stand-up comedy, and for her current efforts in Hawaii as an organic macadamia nut farmer, where she also has a syndicated television show called Roseanne's Nuts. Her current endeavor is to run for two political offices, the President of the United States of America through the nomination process as a Green Party member and as the Prime Minister of Israel.
Well, that's kind of old. I gave that up when I became a serious candidate. But
okay. All right. Well, we'll put that aside for now. But maybe we
Okay.
could just talk about the issues of Israel and
Yeah.
Palestine a little bit later on. So greetings, Roseanne, and welcome to Three Words. Please tell us why you decided to run for the highest office in the United States.
well, obviously because I didn't like the way things were going, and I didn't hear what I considered to be a truthful opinion anywhere from any of the candidates. They both, and I should say all, are irrelevant, or seemed irrelevant to me. So I wanted to bring what I think is a typical and majority American opinion to this election cycle.
Wonderful. So if you win the presidential derby, what will be your first act as president?
Well, I'm not going to win, unfortunately, because I ran on the Green Party. I ran with the Green Party, and they have their presumptive nominee, Jill Stein, and that will be, decided finally at convention on July 15th in Baltimore. So I definitely do not have the nomination. So I don't know how people are going to vote for me.
Oh, well, are you resigned to that fact?
They can hear what I have to say.
Yeah.
And I don't know what they should do besides just start there.
Mm-hmm. Well, let's go through your platform so that they can hear what it is that your intentions are, or still are. I want to say were. I don't want to say were yet. I'm not ready to give up. But
I'm not ready to give up either. But it looks like that the things I say are just people. Well, I'm for the following: debt relief, kicking out the Fed, or nationalizing its profits, and like they did in Iceland. For debt relief, Iceland kicked out the Fed and in 2 weeks had a great and booming economy, which the United States would have too, I believe. And but then, I guess Iceland didn't have any resources that the American government wants to go in and take, so they kind of let that one go. I see that Spain knuckled under yesterday. So as soon as America wises up and gets rid of the Fed, we won't have unemployment or any of the problems that we have now. So that's very much a part of my platform, as is the legalization of marijuana, and for this reason. Because the drug wars, the war for drugs, I call it, that's waged by rich people on prescription drugs against poor people on street drugs, if we legalize marijuana, we will be able to place the tip of the spear for freedom right into the heart of the beast, because most of the people who are gone after in this war for drugs are pot smokers, and that is like locking up the tax base of America. So it's ridiculous, backward, and it's all for the profits of privatized prisons, such America's big export now. We are real good on building prisons, catching people off the streets, particularly teenagers, Hispanic and African American teenagers, and putting them in these privatized American prisons, and getting them to work for 8 cents an hour for corporations. Our manufacturing base is prison-based, and that's about one step up from slavery, and that's the way that we're doing it everywhere. That's any place where naked capitalism goes, that's the result. So the legalization of marijuana is the tip of the spear in the heart of the beast, which is the prison military industrial complex. And that's why we have a deficit. That's why we have every problem that we have, from no health care to soon no or little police, schools, hospitals, and all infrastructure, bad roads. We have no more money for any of that because we were robbed by bankers who took it all.
Well, you get no argument from me, and I was just looking through my questions covering corporations, public education, the environment, social welfare, the housing crisis, healthcare crisis, job crisis.
All of that stuff can be reversed by the legalization of marijuana. I've given this hours and years of thought, dialogue, study. That's how they did it. That's how they brought fascism to our country. That's how they stole our money. That's how they did everything. That's how they got NAFTA. That's how they stole our jobs. When they decided, the federal government decided that they would continue to go after pot smokers, and when they go after you with a joint or whatever, and they're able to do what? If it's a joint or a pound or whatever, they can also take your house, your car, and your bank account. It's a rule of criminals who they themselves have been implicated in drug deals.
Well, we know that...
it's just a pirate scam, a pirate Ponzi scam from top to bottom. But by legalizing marijuana, we can overthrow the shadow government of this country, which is, again, the prison military industrial complex.
Well, we know that Wells Fargo was recently fined, quite small fine for such a huge bank, for laundering drug money. So, and that's why they didn't want the bailout. They didn't want TARP because they were flush in drug money. So just imagine all the money being made.
The headwaters, they're the same headwaters. Every problem has the exact same, six guys that do this all over the world. Yeah. There's more of us than them. And that's why my campaign for president was to appeal to their humanity and say, invite them to be partners with their neighbors, the American people, and not their enemy. Well, so, but you know what they're doing? They're just taking the money and moving. They're moving like the Bush family to Paraguay and buying hundreds of thousands of farmland acres and other places where they don't have Monsanto GMOs. They just sold America out. They figured, the way I look at it, they figured, these people at the top, they figured, there's too many brown people and black people and poor people there, time to go. That's exactly what they did, and they took all our money with them.
Well, I agree with you there. I remember Max Kaiser, who is a good friend of yours.
Yeah, he's my chief financial advisor.
It's a great guy. You gotta love Max. Well, he calls them all psychopaths, and
They
so
are psychopaths. They're sociopathic and psychopaths, and a large number of them. Let's not miss this, because this is very true and important to say. A lot of them are pedophiles too, and they have their own country where they sit and launder money.
yeah, that's very disturbing. It's
What?
It's very disturbing, and yeah, So
Well, you might want to, if you doubt what I'm saying, Google Vatican City.
I see.
You'll see where the banking system of the Queen, which is the stock markets, how it hooks right up with them. How when the British go in and take over a country by dividing it along ethnic lines and then arming both sides, which they're doing now in America.
Yeah.
That's exactly what's going on here. And then pretty soon everybody will be fighting everybody else, and they can take the remainder of wealth with them to their all-white enclaves down there in Paraguay, where they can have decent food while we over here will have burger joints.
Well,
And
it's
drugstores on every corner.
it's history repeating itself over and over again. Divide and conquer. And now they've done it with our finance system. We're so dependent on that we're now a debt system. We're beholden.
Yeah, we're a debt system. Our money is debt. That's what when they print up their fake money, that's all they're doing is just deciding how many people more are going to be enslaved and not be able to have homes or schools or any of that stuff.
How many more generations?
This is the important thing to remember, I think, for me to say. Money doesn't really mean anything, and it really isn't anything but paper. Despite the mind control that we're put under, that a tomato can't grow out of the ground unless money changes hands, is a bunch of BS.
Yeah.
The sky is not going to fall.
Right.
The rain will continue. Gardens will still grow, whether there is money or isn't money.
Yeah. So how do you inspire the American people to realize that and rise up? I mean, what they did in Iceland by throwing rocks at the parliament was pretty astounding. They got their way. So what is it that's going
to?
on?
They did get their way, but, I mean, we really have to look at the fact that I guess Iceland, they did a great service to their people. They restored their economy in about 2 weeks. They had abundance because the Federal Reserve and the kind of money debt system that we use destroys abundance and creates scarcity. So Iceland did themselves a huge favor. Why, though? Because they don't have, obviously, any resources that the prison military industrial complex wants to go and get. They don't have a reason for us to send our army over there. And that's the only reason that really they were not stopped. We stopped Spain.
Yeah.
Spain would like to get rid of the IMF and the Fed too, but we got that big army, and people they don't want to bring that down on themselves, so they have to knuckle under to the system of slavery, which is exactly what the prison military industrial complex is, a system of slavery.
So how do we change that mindset in the mind? We
change it by talking about it and by making people aware that the things I'm saying are not crazy. Yeah. They're fact. And that's what we do. It's so funny in America because people are so completely under mind control and dumbed down to the fact that people think that the truth and intelligently spoken, plain-spoken truth sounds crazy to them. When I talk, they think, boy, are you crazy? You're a conspiracy theory. No, this is what the truth sounds like, and just because you have never heard it before, take a listen and then back up the things I'm saying by searching them on the Internet, finding out that, the truth is not crazy at all.
Well, let me ask you this question. Let me ask you this question, because I run across the same thing when talking to people. You have to talk to a lot of people, and you have to do it sort of over and over and over until one day they say, hey, you know what? You were right. Okay, so you've got
Well,
that.
I've been doing it for over 30 years.
Yeah.
And still now, people are suspect of my sanity.
Well, there's 300
first of all, because I'm a woman.
Yeah, that's
and
true.
Second of all, because I'm not a liar, a thief, a pedophile, or a dirty, low-down criminal. So that sounds suspect to people who have been groomed to trust those people.
So it's a matter of changing their psychology and trust.
Well, every war is fought for two things: hearts and minds.
Yeah.
And this class war in America is fought for the same reason: hearts and minds. It takes billions and billions of dollars for them to put things on television to confuse people and make them vote against their own interests. Like I say, they got the chickens voting for Colonel Sanders here. And, all that's backed up with this, consumerist, go out there and shop, put everything on a credit card, debt-fueled slavery mindset. And that's a social construct and was put together by people at the top who benefit from it.
Yeah.
The only hope we have is to break the mind control programming that we're under. And as soon as we do that, we're home free.
Well,
As soon as we stop believing that the big lie is truth, the faster we'll get what we want, which is the thing that everyone on earth wants: a decent place to live, a safe community, health care, clean water, and decent food. And, good neighbors. And there isn't much more that people want except for those money-mad psychopaths at the top, which, I say even they have their own. This is the way I look at them. They think that money is God, and they are very devout. Very devout.
So when Lloyd Blankfein says, "I'm doing God's work," that's who he's talking about. When Lloyd Blankfein from Goldman Sachs says he's doing God's work, that's who he's talking about.
Yeah. Well, like they say, God, a lot of people think he's God, but one of the gods of people's sacred religions says that by their fruits you shall know them. And I like that. I think that's true. If that's God's work and it results in death and starving children, you got to question, who's the real God there then?
Yeah.
Who is that God? Does he got a couple of horns on his head maybe?
Logically, a lot of this doesn't make sense in the way that they spend the amount of money and energy they put into suppressing people could actually be transformed into doing good things. And I don't understand the psychology there, why they feel the need to control or to own everything. And because money is their god, and they are quite devout. Yeah, they certainly are, because they're in for the kill. They're in for the kill, and it doesn't matter, what anybody says or does. They just keep at it,
Well, that's patriarchy for you. It's based on a finite way. It's based on an obsolete way of thinking of finite things in an infinite world. It's backward, and like I have put it out there, I've written about it. It's the lemming gene. It's the lemming code. It's like, hey, all these guys that are richer than me are going to this cliff, and then they're jumping off. I'm going to follow them.
Yeah. Well,
and that is what patriarchy is. That is what anything that runs and works on hierarchical systems with unceasing war as their goal. And that's what we have.
Well, can you take this scenario here and just walk us right into the Walker recall in Wisconsin? People thought, well, yeah, he's going to lose, this, that, and the other thing. It looked like he was pretty much out, and then the numbers started to change. And it turns out that, a good number of people decided to keep him in. So there you have, again, that...
What blew my mind is there were a lot of union members that were voting for him against unions.
Yeah. My understanding was just it was that divide and conquer. You know, what they negotiated with the unions were the senior members got got a raise. The senior members got better benefits, and the new and minor members lost everything. 20% pay cut.
Well, see, that's what happens when you have that kind of thinking, even in unions, when you've got that hierarchical winner-take-all. There has to be a winner and a loser, and I have to come out on top, and people like me have to come out on top. That's what you're going to get. I think, the more I read about it, and I read a wide spectrum of opinion, not just my own, which that's another problem with Americans. They only read things that reflect their own opinion.
Yeah.
But you got to read and ingest a wider spectrum of diversity of opinion. But I think that the union members, who are largely, like I say, immigrants and people, of color and women, who are like going, hey, you're not going to have a union that only represents largely white males. It's not going to happen. We're not going to support it. We're not going to be the base of a new Ponzi scheme with the same boss at the head of it. So in some way, I'm looking at it like maybe that was a good thing, actually. That might have been a real good thing.
That he won.
Because, we need new unions now that reflect this fact, that 53% of the workforce, at least in America, is now female, and none of these unions reflect that. None of them speak to it. They're all obsolete. Again, the same stuff I'm always saying. We are living now by virtue of the numbers of population, which means that, the white males, always talking about females being a minority is a dirty, stinking, obsolete, backward lie. And we are the majority now, and so we're living in a post-patriarchal age, and nobody's reflecting that. It hadn't even dawned on most people, but it has dawned on me, and that's why I'm speaking about it. That's a fantastic thing in the long run. I figure within 10 years, everything's going to be different, and it's going to be better. It's going to be a hard 10 years, but there's no way for it to fail. Failure, in the words of Susan B. Anthony, is impossible. Just by virtue of the fact that the majority of American citizens are female, 54%, and the majority of the American workforce is now female, 53%. So Congress, all of them from the top down, are irrelevant to us. They are irrelevant to the majority of people in this country. And when you add like men of color and, men who, are out of the 1%, then you got 99% of a country finding their government, their unions, irrelevant. And it's hilarious. It's hilarious to watch them scramble as they embarrass themselves out of power every single day. It's hilarious. We don't even need to do anything but just continue to laugh them to scorn, because everything they have done is stupid. It doesn't work, and it's brought us here. All these money managers and these hedge funders and these giant intelligent people at Goldman Sachs, you know what? You ruined money. You ruined your whole system. You ruined it. That's how smart you are. But, you had no choice, because you are just lemmings. And enjoy your drop off the edge of the world. It's about time, and I'm going to be laughing the whole time.
Well, I can't disagree with you on any of the points that you brought up. That's why it seems to me like they're in for the kill. They're hanging on with dear life, because... they're circling the wagons.
You can see how they know what's coming. And, they're circling the wagons. That's why, what's his name, Buffett, is talking about he's not going to take his money. Boy, he's got more brains than all the rest of those billionaires put together. He realizes at least some reality went in his brain, and he realized at least he can't be buried with all that green paper. That's not going to do him any good.
And
when he's dead. And when the other people realize that they're not going to be able to eat money, and people who can grow lettuce and tomatoes are, they might sell that for what? Porsche? everything is completely dead and done and over. And now we have the ability to step in there and rebuild it in a better way, a more efficient way, a green way, a sustainable way, and that we will do, because that is what women do. Women create communities that are sustainable, and they solve problems cheaply and efficiently too, every single day, sometimes using only a paper clip or a rubber band.
Well, history, pans out on all those aspects. I'm wondering what you think. Now, I had posted something on my blog about the open source state, setting a model about an open source state. So taking over a state and setting the model for the rest of the country to watch.
I need to read about that. I don't really know what
the concept. The concept is basically pretty simple. It's to take people with laden student debt and have them migrate into one state, take over the city, legally, legislatively, through the electoral process, and then make their way into the state and take over the state. Now, all those who come in with, say, student loan debt will not have that reflect their credit score. Therefore, they won't be rejected for a job based on their student debt or medical debt, which is, a problem for just the workforce today. So,
well, I think that's very creative and a great thing that should be explored further. I like it. However, if we just kick out the Fed, we won't need to really do all that.
So we
won't need to get everybody to move to one state. All we need to do is just show up at Wall Street, and like I said, when I went to Occupy Wall Street that first day, as soon, I'll probably get thrown in Guantanamo for saying this, but many people say, and have said before me, when you close down the bridges and the arteries of the streets that lead to where the powerful live, man, things change real fast, like they did in Greece, like they are now in Canada. That's how things change. It's boots on the ground, and this is class war, and that's what people need to do. They need to get off Twitter and show up somewhere and stand there.
Well, Patty Smith says get them with the numbers, and that's one thing we definitely have. However, there's the old quote by Eugene Debs, the great socialist who probably ran for president more.
Eugene Debs is the reason that he saved millions of lives in this country. He saved so many children from starving to death under these same, the last time Wall Street brought us to misery and ruin. I love that guy. He's my idol.
Oh, that's wonderful, because he is one of mine as well. I am constantly quoting this one quote, the American people, he says, can have anything they want. The trouble is they don't want much of anything. So it's inspiring people in this country to start wanting something again, but not just the stuff at Walmart and the things that you can...
They want porn, I know that. They want their drugs, and they want their booze, they want their TV shows, and they want their porn.
Well...
And that's why they got the government they got.
Well, you make a fine point there, that's for sure.
That's exactly those are the exact things that were parsed out to the American people to keep them busy and their hands busy, so they don't do anything but nothing.
Yeah.
So the minute they put down that stuff and just show up somewhere for an hour and actually do service for the country they say they love so much, well, then let's see you out in the street doing some service for your country. You say you love your country. That's what your country needs. Your country needs liberating from the vampiric small number, they say 1,252 billionaires control everything in this world. Now, that's a small number of people.
Yeah.
And
it's
all
very
you
small.
have to do is just show up and witness. That's all. I'm not asking you to do anything else. We're about nonviolence. Absolutely. Just show up and witness for your country. I say a matriot for your country.
Mm-hmm. Well, it's a new kind of patriotism. This idea of...
Well, I use it with an M because I do think that it is woman-centric, and it is multitasker-centric, and it is, since we're the majority, it's the majority.
Yeah. Well, that's going to be a lot of work because women have to come about the realization that they can change things, that they're not just objects.
Well, they need to get off their dope and their mind control that says, you know what, and I'll be the first to say it. I don't care if 3,000 men want to have sex with me and think I'm sexy. I don't care. I think there's something beside the size of my ass and my waist that matters more than if 10 guys are fighting over me and think I'm hot. The women have been entrapped by that when the men have porn and the women have diets, and that's why nothing gets done. Mm-hmm. Get off your diet and get in the street. Run around, run that fat ass off if you want to.
There you go. There's a lot of marching to do. You certainly can work it off.
There certainly is, and nothing will change till you do that. So it's like sometimes I want to say, you know, if you're not down there and you don't go there, then just don't talk about it. Mm-hmm. Don't pretend that you... Don't pretend. You know, don't even vote. Nothing.
Well, you know, there is
and diet.
There's a growing trend of people who are just not going to vote at all, which is important to a lot of people. Well, if you don't vote, you don't have a say. But their thinking, which I thought was kind of interesting, was that if 40% of the people do not vote, then that's not an election. You have to have the majority vote.
I know, and that is something that I also say, you know, I also talk a lot about the Electoral College and how it was the Electoral College that allowed the Fed to take control because they're basically the same people. They are the 1%. The Fed and the Electoral College are the 1%. And people, you know, I want to connect that dot for people. But, yeah, it is a fact that if the majority of citizens of this country don't vote, then the elections are not really elections at all. And we're headed there, so I think it's a self-correcting problem because people's apathy at a certain point reaches tipping point, and it's going to work for them. Mm-hmm.
I'm gonna just kind of go off a topic.
I say, you know, I used to say anybody who votes does not deserve to complain. Mm-hmm. But, you know, people got mad at me for that. But.
Well, you know, I get the same thing. And then when I say I'm voting green, they're saying, oh, you want Romney to win. So you can't win.
People are all over the place about, is it Romney? You know, when you look at the things Obama has done, you know, there's no difference. He is Romney. Yeah. They're the same guy. They work for the same guys, too. And everybody says, oh, but they say this to themselves. Yeah, but the next president's going to appoint up to 3 or 4 Supreme Court judges. So do you want Romney doing it or do you want Obama doing it? They're saying that they're scraping the bottom of the barrel to try to come up with reasons to give people to vote for Obama. And it's not working. But the fact is, if we get Greens in Congress, none of those people, you know, Romney could be president for 800 years. And if we get enough Greens in Congress and it's from bottom to top in those seats of in those representative seats, which, you know, basically are filled now by whores and lobbyists that care nothing about the American people. If we put Greens in there, it doesn't matter if it's Romney or Obama or Obama-Omni. It doesn't matter at all. It's the Congress that matters.
That's true.
So, they wouldn't let... I think that's a challenge before us in 2014, too. Now and in 2014.
Well, the Tea Party show...
It really doesn't matter. And, boy, are people going to be mad at me for that. But if you elect the right kind of people to Congress, you can have any fool be the president.
That's true. That's very true. And the Tea Party demonstrated that, didn't they?
Me?
Well... Oh, you know, I don't want to laugh at that because actually it would be, you know, 1,000 times of an improvement over what we have. Beyond question.
Because I listen to women, which was why I liked Hillary Clinton, even though she's a criminal like her husband and the rest of them, and like Obama and Romney. But at least one thing was different about Hillary Clinton. She listened to women of the world and of this country, and when they asked her to do something, she did it, and that puts her out 100% in front of any of these men. So, yeah, she's a whatever, warmonger, all the other stuff.
Yeah.
But, you know, that's a huge difference to 54% of the public that thinks like, wow, we got nothing now, and then we got this woman who actually listens to us.
So you think that's a good way to go to try and draft Hillary? You think that?
No, I don't. I think drafting me is the better way to go.
Okay.
But, you know, a lot of people are talking about it, and, you know, that's where they're choosing to put their energy. So, you know, I'm just mentioning that because a lot of them are talking about doing that, trying to dump Obama and put Hillary in there. I don't know.
It's going to be
how much of a, like I say.
I don't know what kind of movement that's going to come, because I know they've been talking about that for about a year. Haven't seen much efforts until just recently. There's all of a sudden there's a push. However, you know, on the other side, what you have is the Ron Paul people who refuse to vote for Romney, and they will write in Ron Paul. So now you have these other ideas where people are going to vote green, or they're going to vote for Hillary, or they're going to push for that on the left, and then on the right you've got the Ron Paul supporters, the Johnson supporters. So
well, I think I want to say about Ron Paul, you know, if this was a time where we needed to move farther right because we were too far left, then I'd be for Ron Paul. However, we're too far right, and we need to move left. And that's why I'm not for Ron Paul, because, when he starts his free markets crap, that's what got us into this mess. Free markets, which means slave markets, which means people working for nothing. Yeah. And, you know, like in China, the people who made our Apple computers jumping out of windows because, you know, they have no rights. They're like a step above slaves. So, no, I don't like Ron Paul for that, because I do believe government is the only hope people have to protect them from the fat cats. Who's going to protect people from those fat cat sociopathic bankers if it isn't government? Ron Paul and other rich guys, you know, people call him Ron Paul Rothschild, and I really implore people to look that up, those three words together, and really investigate what he says and why he says it, and be real about it.
Well, that's worth looking into, because my support for Ron Paul came from being anti-war and against anti-Fed, ending the Fed. But I did parse his words when he talked about Medicare and Social Security. How that you just can't change that overnight. It will have to be a process, and I understood that too. And then he would go on to explain, well, you have all this money we're pouring into these ridiculous wars. We could use that money here. So, whether or not how that would all turn out if he was elected, whether or not he would follow through with that, stop the wars and put the money into Medicare and Social Security and protect those programs, and then, talk about reforms. But, the one thing he wants to stop the bleeding, and I think that's what was appealed to, let's say, a good number of progressives, and even Ralph Nader brought those points up. But it doesn't necessarily mean that, there's divisions right now.
Peter to pay Paul is what Ron Paul is doing. And, it's the core of his message that needs to be looked at. Yeah. He says a lot of great things. That's why I took every single one of the things he said and made it part of mine. Only one difference. I believe that government can be efficient and on the side of the people. Yeah. I believe that government can be of, by, and for the people. I believe that government can protect people from jackals, vultures, and rogue capitalism. I do believe that, and Ron Paul does not. Ron Paul's on their side. Well, he's for privatizing prisons and all that other stuff that those people want to do. And it's never going to work. It won't work here in America. It won't work anywhere on earth because it's that lemming crap. It's not. We are not a hive of bees, nor are we a hill of ants where the workers at the bottom support a queen at the top. Human beings, although, feudalism would like us to go that way, that's not where we're headed. And that's not how we're meant to live.
Yeah. Oh, I agree with that. I think that Well, again, his anti-war message was, is what sparked a lot of people to rally to his side.
For that too, so much of what he says, I agree with, and I really like, and I think the guy's brave. It's down at the root where the problem is. Take a look, everybody. Look at the root, because as a farmer, I'm telling you, you don't have strong roots, you're not going to grow nothing.
Well, I know this is very hypothetical and maybe almost an imagination, but what if Ron Paul did win and you had a Congress that was all green? How good would that be?
Well, you're still going. Ron Paul is still for the stock market of the British stock market that is for the European royals, and he's still for laundering that money in Vatican City, and he's still for the Rothschild banking system cartel. So no, it's not going to be much different than Obama in there.
So then, what I'm going to do for myself and investigate is look up this Ron Paul Rothschild and see what is at the root.
Those people those 1% Bilderbergers, they are the people who fund Ron Paul. Take a look.
Yes, definitely. I'm putting that.
Nobody funding me. How do you like that?
Say that again?
I have nobody but myself funding me.
Well,
I wouldn't take a dime from Bilderberg. I wouldn't take a dime from Rothschild. I wouldn't take a dime from Power. I don't want nothing to do with them. I would not tether myself to a dying animal just to win something.
Well, that's admirable in so many ways. Can I just?
Well, it's admirable, but I'm in that position because I got lucky, and I went from rags to riches in America. But I'll tell you what, I never lost my ideals, and I used my own money. I've used my own money since I got it, and I just want to say that it's important to me to say this. And I have given away a large amount of my fortune. I just want people to know that I'm not a pig. I am not what those other people are, and I happen to know a lot of rich people that are just like me. And so that's why I kind of say I want to be president of 100% of Americans, because those billionaires, they don't even live here. They all moved.
Yeah.
So 100%, not 99%. But, facts are necessary for Americans to look at so that they can arrive at the right decision.
Yeah, I never understood the mentality of hanging on to every penny. I mean, as the old Frank Capra movie says, you can't take it with you. So, why not spread the wealth?
Look at people who are these hoarders. Billionaires are hoarders. Now, if you've been around billionaires, you see that it's not just one thing they do that's weird. They don't just hoard piles of money and then go about their busy, everyday, wonderful lives. They do a series of corrupt things.
Yeah.
Everything they do is corrupted, and from their sexuality to everything. So I think it's important for people to recognize vampires and call them out. There is such a thing as people who exist on the flesh and blood of other people, and they're called billionaires.
Yeah. I think it's hard for people to imagine that, and I think part of that is a generational thing, but I think more and more people are waking up to that. I want to take you just for a second over to another place, because I wanted to touch on this and get your thoughts on the situation in Israel with the Palestinians. Now, that's been going on for decades and decades and decades, and I mean, that's perhaps an example of a good example of what we're going to be up against living in that kind of situation where you can never make any grounds, and when you take a step you end up going back to. So talk about that a little bit. Talk about
Halliburton built too.
So explain that a little bit.
Well, Halliburton is in the business of building things up and then knocking them down and then making prisons and then giving half the people a job holding guns on the other half. That's how it works. That's how the prison military industrial complex works. So like my point with Jill Stein is all of her words and the words of the Green Party and their policy on the Middle East and Israel, they're obsolete. They don't even exist anymore. They're talking about stuff that happened during Camp David, and it never worked. So this is a time for this is a time for huge data, for a huge eye on what really goes on and how things all seem to play into the same hands at the end. So nothing that we think about over there is going to work. Nothing that we believe or talk about over there is going to work, because we're in a lemming program over there too.
Yeah.
Brzezinski's lemming-like program started with PNAC over there, which is to contain China. The whole thing is moving to, get Iran, which is China's gas station. And, it's all like moving towards putting China in check. But the fact of it is, that's a scam too, because they say that China owns our debt. Well, the fact is, China does not. China only owns 1/3 of our debt. The rest of our debt is owed to the Fed.
Yeah.
So that's the big scam there.
Yeah.
That this whole PNAC Brzezinski thing is a big scam, and the scam is we sell weapons, and that's what makes our stock market go. We provoke wars until we can sell more weapons. That's all we care about. That's our export war. Yeah. That is our export, and we exported it to the Middle East. And, I'm going to say this, and it'll make a lot of people, whatever, I don't even care at this point. But this is what makes me mad about the way Jill Stein's talking about it. The Green Party is supposed to be a socialist party, right? Mm-hmm.
Roughly.
But yet, they do not employ anything having to do with socialism as a solution to the problems in the Middle East, which I do.
Yeah.
So, it's just all, and you have to, as a socialist party in America, when you have to make a profit, already that's lemming. That's not going to go. Yeah. And when you are supporting something that has never worked and will never work, and you say that's your policy, well, that's just a bald-faced lie. There is a way to solve the problem over there. There is a way, and it's very, very simple. It's a socialist solution there and everywhere else on Earth where people are enslaved.
Yeah, yeah. Well, it is.
Even the Green Party doesn't employ that idea themselves. That when they asked me about Palestine, Israel in the debates there with Jill Stein, of course she never answered any questions. She just demurred. But I did, and the answer that I gave it made them angry. Because it was a socialist answer, which they are not prepared to hear, because they have been brainwashed into just blaming Israel, blaming Israel. And I'm not defending Israel or any of its heinous policies and genocide against those people in Gaza and all the other ugly things it does. It does because that's what Halliburton tells it to do. Halliburton is the power there, not Israel. Halliburton is the power everywhere in the Middle East, not Israel. Israel is America's scapegoat.
Interesting. So I've never heard this.
And my solution is, here's how you solve the Palestine-Israel problem. You create the Palestinians are Israel's workforce. Right. So like we do here with Mexico on the border, you give those people, take some of that money, the same cost of the 140 nuclear warheads that were forced down Israel's throat by Halliburton, take some of that money and build the Palestinians a great place to live, and schools and hospitals and good jobs that pay well, and you're going to put the PAL back into Palestinian. It's a socialist solution there, as it is here, as it is everywhere. And don't pretend it isn't, because I got you in my sights. I've got you in my sights. Don't call yourself a socialist party if you're not socialist.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. Well, it seems to me that they the powers that be bank on the religious conflicts. At least they highlight that, and I don't really think that that's the crux of the whole thing, because there are people with differences, but I don't think that they're in the majority.
Absolutely. That's why I say it's not a religious issue, it's a labor issue. And I'll tell you, break down the religion thing, and here's what you get. There's no religion, there's patriarchy. That's what it is. Telling people that God is a man is not a religion. That's patriarchy. That's political force. That's mind control. Telling people that a man in the sky, a Bronze Age god in the sky who wants war and people to die, that's not a religion. That's political. That's patriarchy. You want religion, go out and look at the stars. That's where you get your religion.
Yeah.
Look at a tomato coming out of the earth. That's where you'll get your religion, the cycles of nature. You won't get it from a male-dominated, woman-hating war machine. You won't get it. So I'm not even going to use the word religion.
Yeah.
I just say patriarchy.
I wish people would read more thorough, to live deliberately and to simply, and I think more of us yearn for that, actually, because there's a purpose. I mean, there's a good purpose behind living that way. And I'm not saying it's for everyone, but
living in a safe place with safe neighbors and having a community, that's what people want.
Yeah.
People are social animals. They need community. They need other people. But that's the opposite of what is pushed down our throats by patriarchy, because it's like they've got to divide us so they can conquer us.
Yeah.
They've got to have us all the time thinking about who we're better than and who might be better than us. That's all it is.
Well, that's what keeps bringing me back to this open state solution. And of course, if I say the word secession, I get, the whole lecture on the Civil War. But,
Well, the Civil War has never ended, and
No.
that's something Americans should know, too. This is still going on. The Confederacy against the Union, that's exactly what the Republicans are, the Confederacy. That's exactly what Newt Gingrich's New Deal with America is about, Confederacy against the Union. When they say states' rights against the federal government, they're still fighting the damn Civil War. And you know why? Because the Electoral College, which was forced on the American people by slavers from Louisiana, that 1% whose name, ironically, was Monsanto. It's that same family that were slavers and forced the Electoral College on the American people after the Declaration of Independence, because it's still in effect. It is still in effect, and until it is not in effect, there is still an active civil war going on in this country, and the Republicans and the Confederate states are always going to be about states' rights for gay marriage, for whatever they want it to be about, pot, whatever. It's just we are still in the Civil War, is my point, and the point of constitutional scholars everywhere.
Well, that's why I think that, it has to come out of community building, grassroots. So the idea of forming these communities to take over legislatively and, change, find your ilk, as it were, and like minds to build, these communities where people are thriving by working with each other, not in the idea of a profit. Like here in Milwaukee, we have co-ops all over the place. We have a grocery co-op. We have a artist co-op. We have a time bank. We have a free store. We have River West Radio, and we also have a co-op bar. Of course, in Milwaukee, you have to have a co-op bar. So, and all the profits, as it were, go back into starting something else. The next thing down the line we're looking at is a co-op bakery. So, it's building within the community.
It sure is, and all that stuff that's happening here, too, in Hawaii. It's happening everywhere, because it has to happen. Because, look at Detroit. Have you seen those pictures of Detroit recently?
Yes, I have.
It looks like Lebanon.
It's amazing.
And this is our way out, that we we cooperate rather than compete. That's the big change that has to be flicked on in people's head. We need to cooperate. Yes, I'll trade my green vegetables for your eggs. We need that. We're busted back to nothing, and we need to start at ground zero. And luckily, we have the earth under our feet where food comes from anyway, so we don't need all that stuff. If we have community, like the Amish do, we'll put up a barn in one day, and people can live in it. It's way better than living it on concrete in Detroit with nothing. We have to rebuild, and we can do it, and we do know how. We just have to. Have to speak it into existence, and it is happening.
Yeah, well,
it definitely is happening.
Communication's so important, and that's why protecting the radio waves, and why we started River West Radio, community radio, and with and working our way towards low power FM is to keep the community in touch with each other. It's the old adage by Putnam, bowling alone. I don't know if you've read that. I know I bring that up every now and again. But we lost community when we did that. I remember as a child, uncles and aunts and everybody going after work to the bowling league, with people from work.
Right.
But now everybody's so turned into their computers and little phones that they're losing touch with the foundations around them, their schools, their neighborhoods, their roads, and now that they're kind of unemployed, unable to to get into the fads and whatever the ad companies on Madison decide is going to be the new black this year, they're starting to look around and say, this is not what I want. I want something that has a little more, a bite to it, something that makes me feel that I've accomplished something, that I can walk past and say, I built that.
It's real.
Yeah.
And money isn't real.
No. Exactly, yeah. It's a form of exchange, and it's turned into a god. And I agree with you on that.
Yeah, it's a form of exchange to buy vegetables.
Yeah, it has to be liquid.
To eat.
It has to be liquid and moving.
I try to get it as simple as I can. You don't need money to grow a seed. You need a garbage can. You could grow a bunch of potatoes in one of those metal garbage cans, and you should. Mm-hmm. That's why I did a show last year, about what do we really need? Well, we need food, clothing, and shelter, and community, and nothing else.
Well, and education. Let's throw that in there too. That's important.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Healthcare, absolutely.
Yeah.
But that can be bartered too, and it is here in Hawaii. It's fantastic. I should write more about the things that are happening here in Hawaii.
That would be great.
Another thing that's happening here in Hawaii is the sovereignty movement, and that's very important too. For since we have to live in a country that's perpetually in civil war, people should look about how to totally unplug from that.
Oh, unplug from the system?
War in America.
From the war. Well, there's 27 pieces of legislation on the tables of state houses right now with secession written on them. So,
I know, and that is the future, and that's a big thing in Hawaii. And what's really weird about Hawaii is that's for First Nations, Hawaiian people. Mm-hmm. The Hawaiian people's islands and their sovereign kingdom was taken, and there's a lot of loopholes in the way it was taken, and it may not be legal, particularly now when we have the Patriot Act. And I always say this about First Nations too, and I've been, talking to people and studying up on it a bit too. All the First Nations, Indian, that means of course Indian Tribes of America. Their treaties, they might be bogus now with the Patriot Act and the things that they've thrown out of our Constitution, which means maybe it's time for total renegotiation, and I see that's power rising. That is, to me, the prophecy of Crazy Horse coming true. that the Lakota Sioux and the First Nations will rise again because everybody else is too broke to stop it now.
Yeah, there's a lot of truth to that.
They did us such a service when, what's his name? Goldman Sachs. I can't remember.
Blankfein.
Lloyd, what's his name?
Lloyd Blankfein. Blank.
He actually did us a huge service when he destroyed the financial systems and money.
Yeah.
He did a service to us. He didn't mean to.
No.
that stupid.
He and Jamie
But
Dimon.
They did us a big favor. They did us all a big favor by destroying their infrastructure, because it'll take 10 years for us to build sustainable communities, and that's not a long amount of time in the history of things.
We have everything. We have the manpower, as they would say. We have, we have the technology. We have the ingenuity. People.
Yes,
it's amazing what people can figure out. I mean, just this whole situation here at River West Radio, how this just came together by community, by people just saying, "Oh, I've got one of those," or "I have one of these," and and now it's just you can't get in here anymore to talk on the radio.
It's failed. It's dying. It's Babylon, and it's falling. And we just didn't hear the big crash yet, but it's close.
Yeah,
I think the big crash is going to come after the election, and then I
agree.
do think that they plan to start arresting homeless people and unemployed people and put them in prison, and then they got their manufacturing base to work to make crap for Chinese people to buy.
It's truly amazing. It's just truly amazing that they've gotten away with it this long, and they're still continuing to. But I agree with you. I don't think it's going to last. I think the weight of it is going to just make it. There's going to be a breaking point, and it's just going to happen.
Well, the only thing is, if people can save up their money and move to China, they can get some damn good jobs over there for American business.
I don't know how people feel about moving to China. Plus, especially with their labor laws, which are like nothing.
Well, I was kind of being ironical, but
yeah, okay.
That is where our jobs are, though.
Well, they are, but we don't want that. We want to. At least I want to bolster. The idea of labor unions in China to protect.
Well, my friends went over there, and they said that it's a fantastic place right now. Fantastic place to live and buy. In many ways, they have that community from all those decades of building socialism.
Yeah.
So they're like socialist Democrats. They're like what we need to be here. So.
Well, I guess there are certain parts, because I've had friends who've gone to China too, and they just couldn't wait to get out because it was just too much for them. Not just the cultural differences, but just, I don't know, just the industrial waste and certain parts.
They say that they're doing something about cleaning that up. Boy, all you have to do is look at Detroit and say, I don't think there's any place in China that looks like that. I don't think there's any place in India that looks like that. There's Lebanon after we bombed it down to zero, and that's exactly what it looks like in some parts of Detroit, our own country. That's exactly what it looks like at Pine Ridge Indian Reservation.
Yes.
People sleeping in the dirt, no jobs, no housing, nothing.
Yeah.
People freezing to death every winter.
It's just a gas station
that's where this stuff
in the middle of town.
And it is coming here. We said nothing when we sent it everywhere else. And now it's coming here, and hopefully we'll care. But it seems like we just we choose the opium, like they did in China. The reason that they were able to have a revolution in large part is because they got rid of their dope. And everybody here is so completely drugged. I mean, it's frightening. You really look at the level of drugs that people are on in this country. No wonder they can't think straight, for God's sake.
No, all the pharmaceuticals are just, it's astounding how lucrative that business is, not to mention how many people are taking pharmaceuticals, and they take it so readily.
And increasing numbers of, talk about vampires. People snorting bath salts.
I know. Oh my God.
More meth, and those completely horrific addictions that are running rampant here. And so what they do, cut programs to help people. I mean, it seems like when you look at it, you're like, oh my God, it is. It's going to be neighbor against neighbor, people with guns, stand your ground laws, fighting in the streets.
So again, we come to that, where people like minds, you have to find your ilk and build from there and set the model. And I think that is, because there's purpose behind it. I don't I don't know where else to go. I don't know, I mean, you either join the elitist psychopathic rich, if you're lucky enough, or you do something with purpose and you develop a community and you set the model and so that others can see, how it works.
Right, and that's why I moved to Hawaii to do that. I mean,
well, talk about your
farm co-op here.
Talk about your farm.
And we share water and such like that, and it's a great way to live. It's a wonderful way to live.
Tell us why you got into macadamia nuts.
Huh?
Tell us why you got into macadamia farming.
Oh, because they're the perfect protein, and I wanted to figure out, here they are in Hawaii laying all over the ground, rotting, because nobody will, because the market was, it wasn't worth it for people to do the work to get them to the factories to process them and sell them, because people, you made like 6 cents a ton or something, so nobody wanted to do the work. So they were rotting all over the ground, and the fact is that's a perfect protein, the macadamia nut. It's got the right kind of fat that feeds the brain, and if people were to get their protein from the mac nut instead of beef, there wouldn't be any global warming. So it was like I was just sitting staring at it and reading about it more and more. What a perfect solution that is to so many things, but mostly to hunger. And I was trying to figure out, after you get it, after you get all the nuts and all that stuff, what are you going to do with them? Yeah. You have to have some kind of distribution to get them to those people that don't have any food. And that's what's wrong, is that everything's about roads and how we get the food to the hungry, and that's where so much of Halliburton comes in to, build roads to certain places for a certain class of people. And so it's like pretty big, and I could talk about it for another hour, but because I did that show, Rosanne's Nuts, I'm proud to say that the price of macadamia nuts on this island has increased, and so more and more people are starting to farm them, and the price is coming down, because people used to go to the store and have to pay $15 for 2 ounces of mac nuts, and they're worth it, because they're delicious and good, but, this is just like, they call that free market, but it really is anything but free market. It's that pirate market that ends up in slavery. But if there was free markets, then those mac nuts that are rotting on the ground there, they would be worth, they would be priceless because, they would help to rid the world of hunger problems. So it just depends on what we're going to value and what system we're going to use to put that valuation in place. So it's good that's what I'm saying. It's good that one's destroyed and busted back to zero, because maybe now we'll have an economy that's based on nuts. That'd be a whole hell of a lot smarter than one based on paper. I just want people to hear that, because it's true.
And you can eat them. Which is even better.
Back for them.
Yeah, I mean the things you could potentially do. I mean you could actually make paper nuts, and you pay with it.
Anyway, there's not really any such thing as money anymore either. There's just like ledgers with numbers in them. Right. That's how not real any of this system is. Just a bunch of numbers in a book.
Well, we could go through the whole gold and silver monetary system too.
Yeah, we could do that, but who's better at that, and you should talk to him, is Max. Max Kaiser. He's so great on gold and silver and precious metals and resources and all of that stuff. He's way smarter than me. And you should have him on.
Oh, definitely. Well, I've been in touch with them for a number of years, and that's when you popped up, it was like, oh God, you got to get her on. You got to get her on, and everybody was emailing Max, and he got
I better go now, because I think my kids come up here. I got to go make them lunch.
Well, I appreciate you taking all this time talking to us. I hope you will come back.
Talking to you. I like that you're a thinker. Let's continue thinking and talking.
Yes.
So we come up with, a complete overhaul in a new way.
Well, I'm hoping for that. And I want to thank you, Rosanne.
part of it, and I appreciate it.
Oh. Well, we're all in this together, right?
Yep.
I hope that you'll come back, and I hope that our listeners will continue to support community radio. They're your waves. You own them. Support, and please take good care.
Yeah, that's right, and I hope people will listen to my radio show, which, I'd love to interview you for, and that's kcaaradio.com on Sunday, 11 to 1 California time, so tune in there, too. Thank you so much. Nice talking to you.
Thank you, Rosanne. Take care.
You too. Bye.
Bye-bye. That was Rosanne Barr. Gave us a lot of her time today. It was a wonderful conversation. And that's what we have for you today here on River West Radio. I'd like to conclude saying thank you for listening and watching. Our shows are archived at riverwestradio.com. We Ustream. We have also archived our shows at YouTube at .com at River West Radio. And also this program will be on 3 Words Radio on YouTube. So please continue to stay tuned. Join your community radio. Support it. Speak out. Get involved. Thanks again.